consider it a compliment because I have a very specific idea of what freedom means to me. And I think it's something that should be shared, that feeling of what freedom means to me. It has real resonance in my life and real significance for me. And yeah, I think it's a damn fine compliment.
Well, many of us actually can relate because our members sometimes have come under attack for the work that we do to guide best practices and development of young children, including questioning sometimes the books that we hold in our programs. I know this is a topic that is very personal to you. We are a proud member of the Diverse Books for All Coalition, and yet we've been very painfully aware of the forces that try to keep books out of classrooms and libraries and out of children's hands. What do you make of this book banking efforts, and what can you tell us from your perspective of how we should best effectively respond?
Here's my response. Are you ready? No, not that response. Yes, that response, but that's not what I was going to say. My response is, every book is not for everybody. However, there is somebody for every book. It's okay for anyone to tell me what's a good book for my kid. You have the same right as a parent. You get to do that in your family. But this is my family, and we get to decide as a family what's right for us. That's the promise of America. Is it not? Besides, I think doing nefarious work in the name of children is bad karma. And quite truthfully, there's going to come a time, I think, in the lives of some of these families where their children challenge them on, what were you so afraid of? And why did you want to limit my access to the world? Don't you trust me as a human being? Or is this simply evidence of the fact that you have no faith in me at all? And there may be a reckoning coming. I don't know. But I do know this. God don't like ugly.
Premiered in 1983, and clearly a lot of things have changed since then. I was thinking about this with regards to family vacations. Growing up, we got in the car, there was no technology. You had a bag of books, you could look out the window, you could play car bingo, or you could just sit. There was no, and today, thinking about the last family vacation we took, it's kind of pain to look back there and see the devices. Technology is everywhere.
It
right?
is. Yeah.
What do you think about the role of technology in kids' lives now? Are you an optimist or a pessimist?
I believe it has a place. I do. It's not going anywhere, right? It's here to stay. I don't think that technology is the problem. I think we need to be more disciplined in how we use it. I think as a society, we've sort of abandoned ourselves to the reality that it's a part of our lives. We haven't put any guardrails around it, and hardly any for our children as well. So I think we have, there's a reckoning. We are a generation, we're guinea pigs kids, all of us, we have no idea how this constant exposure to the technology and the machines on which they are delivered. We have no clue right now. And if you're expecting corporations who sell us these devices to tell us about the research they're doing, we're kidding ourselves, okay? So I think it's incumbent upon all of us to sort of take a good, hard look at our own behaviors, especially in front of our children. Parents ask me all the time, well, how can I get my child to read more in this age of devices? And I generally ask them a couple of questions. I ask them, number one, how often do your children see you read? Right? My mother read multiple books in front of us. She didn't just read to my sisters and I, she read in front of us. We got that very important modeling. And then I asked them, so what's your child passionate about? Because it's our passions that tend to drive our reading appetites, right? So I said for a long time, if your kid loves superheroes, then damn it, buy your kid comic books, right? Because I really don't care what the gateway drug to reading is. I just want kids to read. It's not that complicated, you know? I want kids to have the advantages that I did. My mother knew I would grow up and inherit a world that would sometimes be hostile to my presence simply because of the color of my skin. And what she did was made sure that my sisters and I had the kind of education that she could hardly afford. She dodged those nuns when it came time to pay the bill at the end of the month. But she was determined to send her 3 children through parochial school because as an educator, she knew that's where the level playing field existed for me. She wanted me to have the best education available so that I could compete on a level playing field with what I consider to be my melanin-challenged classmates, okay? That's code for white people. For those in the back. So I just want every child to have that advantage, the opportunity, the chance. It's not 100% guaranteed, but if we give children a chance to reach their full potential through literacy and love, I don't know that there's anything better that we can do for the upcoming generations. I'm executive producer of a documentary that's out now called The Right to Read, which posits literacy as a civil right. And the documentary highlights the efforts now that we are making in this country to return to a scientific-based, evidence-based approach to teaching reading instruction to our kids. And I am so glad, if you are a fan of literature, the written word, and teaching literacy, please, let's all get on the same page and go back to what works. Which means we're going to have to retrain ourselves. Those of us who teach literacy, we're going to have to familiarize ourselves with this method. It's not a new method, but it is a method that is tried and true, and we've gotten away from it, and for reasons that are not altogether clear, and in some cases nefarious. The profit motive was very heavily involved in that decision, and I just think it's the right thing to do. I'm all in on the science of reading.
Aligns with the science of early learning.
Yes, indeed. You know, aligns with the science of early learning. Like, it's not rocket science, y'all. It's good decision making as the adults in the world.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Well, it is a fantastic film, and it just continues to show your commitment to helping all of us continue to think about how we can advance a love of literacy. You mentioned earlier being read to, and for many of us, you're the ideal storyteller. But I'd love to ask you, who would you like to read to you, and what would you have them read to you?
Wow. James Earl is gone. He was a good reader, y'all. Do you know that James Earl Jones was a stutterer?
Yeah, sure
He was a
was.
stutterer, and he was also silent for several years in his childhood. And it was reading aloud that healed him. And he grew up and developed one of the most powerful, most recognizable, and most beloved voices in the English language. Wow. We all have a destiny, you know. We all have a gift to give. And I believe it is incumbent upon us to define what that gift is. And as you so lovingly pointed out, give that gift everything we've got. It is, I believe, a good plan for our salvation, right? Give your gift. Y'all know what your gift is. You're lucky, right? If we are all willing to step up and give our gift to one another, as Kendrick Lamar says, we're gonna be all right.
You also wrote a book, Var, which I had the chance to read this weekend. A wonderful book called The Rhino Who Swallowed a Storm. After so many years of reading, what made you want to write?
The Rhino Who Swallowed a Storm was inspired by a day when there was news about another horrific incident in America. I think this time it was a theater in Colorado, I believe. Someone had gone in with an automatic weapon or a semi-automatic weapon and caused wreaked havoc and damage, pain and suffering and death. And I thought, Fred was gone. And I recognized that if he were here, Fred would be addressing this in an age-appropriate manner. He would be addressing the prevalence of these horrific events and natural disasters and loss upon loss upon loss. And as Fred wasn't here, I thought somebody's got to step into the void. And so I took a crack at it, and we produced a story that was about loss and how to recover. And the theme of The Rhino Who Swallowed a Storm is that we all need each other, right? Rhino swallowed a storm, and he had no idea how to get it out of his system.
We even have your Okay.
This is Sangeeta Patel. She runs my company, Var Burton Entertainment.
Read to us?
So Sangeeta suggests that I read just these 2 pages.
Lavar's going to read to us. Okay.
We have 5 minutes and 15 seconds
We
left.
have 5, and yes, we have 5 minutes.
I think I can read this whole book in 5 minutes and 15 seconds. All right, you all ready?
All right.
Okay, here we go. In the middle of the morning, Mika Mouse trembled under her blanket. A storm boomed outside her window. Rain crashed against the glass. Wind rattled the shutters. More than anything else, Mika was afraid of storms. A year before, a powerful hurricane had destroyed her home. "I'm scared, Papa," she said. There's Papa reading the Gouda Times. "We are safe, Mika. This storm will pass soon," said Papa. "Would you like me to read you a story? I know just the one to help you feel better." Now, Mika loved books, and Papa's gentle voice soothed in a way that made her forget all about the thunder. Papa opened the book, began. "Long, long ago, before there were words, animals roamed in bountiful herds. Little rhinoceros lived happy and free, exploring mountains and meadows, rivers and trees. His world was delightful and chock full of magic until out of the blue that magic turned tragic. A storm swept through the valley, turning bright sky to black. A flash flood came raging, no time to react. Lost in the thundering, no time for wondering. Chaos and lightning, fury, so frightening. Earth quaking, him shaking. Water rumbling, him tumbling. Raggedy, jaggedy, senseless calamity. The storm crashed through his world and tore it apart and took away everything dear to his heart. Rhino was stunned by the terrible scene. Death and destruction all through the ravine. Enraged by the pain of such a great loss, Rhino acted without a thought to the cost. Rhino looked at his world, all tattered and torn, stood out on a ledge, and swallowed that storm. Inside his belly, he felt the storm growing. Inside his head, he heard howling and blowing like a tornado. He spun as the storm raged inside, growing bigger and bigger and wider than wide. And when he finally stopped, when he regained control, he was at the very bottom of a very deep hole. What to do? Rhino worried as rain dripped down his face. I'm lost and I'm lonely and in such a dark place. At just the right time, comfort, guide him, a spider dropped down and dangled beside him. The world up above is shattered and gray. It is where you belong, so you must find a way to let that storm out and move through your sorrow. You'll find many helpers on your road to tomorrow. Oh, but that hole was dreadfully deep, and the walls around him were slippery steep. Rhino tried to climb out, but was losing all hope when Kangaroo heard him and threw down a rope. The Rhino was heavy from the weight of the storm. They towed him right up, safe, dry, and warm. We're strong and steady and always ready. When danger strikes, we hop to it. Fire or flood, snow or mud, when help is needed, we'll pull you through it. Watching the Rhino do what they do best. Watching those heroes do what they did best gave Rhino the strength to set off on his quest. But that storm he was clutching, it made him buzzy and blurry. It kept his brain foggy. It filled him with worry. Where do I go? What do I do? How will I ever make it through? After every dark night, there comes a new day. Be kind, do your best, and you'll find a way. Up comes the sun. There are steps to complete. There isn't a map. Just follow your feet. Those were bees, y'all. Well, Rhino followed his feet to a wallowing spot where he plopped on a rock and had a deep thought. I'm tired of caging the wind and the rain, exhausted from holding this anger and pain. We're all on this earth to learn and to grow. A wise old tortoise chimed in from below. Allowing yourself to start feeling your feelings is the very first step on your journey toward healing. Doesn't much matter if you're fast or you're slow. If you want to move forward, just trust and let go. The Rhino shook and he shimmied and he stomped in the muck. Then just as he'd hoped, that storm came unstuck. And at first, one little raindrop leaked out of his eye. Then, Rhino let go. Had a good cry. His tears formed a river that flowed to the sea, where a pod of whales swam, happy and free. I do feel better, Rhino thought as he drifted. Then, up swam a whale, and Rhino was lifted. If you ever feel blue, the whale said with a spout, remember to breathe. Breathe in and breathe out. Sing your own song and take it deep, deep, deep. Then rise above with a joyful leap. Scottish whales. Thank you. As he floated home on a gentle wave, Rhino felt calm and strong and brave. His vision was clear like the sky above, and he looked at his world through eyes filled with love. So he thanked the kind spider and the brave kangaroo and all of the others who'd helped him through. He was glad to know that if he ever lost hope, they'd lend him a hand or throw him a rope. He had journeyed his journey a very long way to find the light in a world turned gray. He swallowed a storm with no thought to the cost. He felt all alone. He'd been tumbled and tossed. Life would bring changes, beginnings and ends, but he had faith in himself and faith in his friends. As they curled up together, he felt loved and protected, and he dreamed of a world that was safe, connected. He understood now. It was love that mattered. Love could never be lost, but could never be shattered. Papa closed the book and gave Mika a hug. I know it was scary when we lost our home last winter, said Papa, but bad things do happen sometimes, and we can't always control that. But we had lots of helpers, said Mika, just like Rhino did. That's right, little one, Papa said in his gentle way. You're never really alone. Bad things happen. There are family and friends, even people we don't know, who are always there to help us through the tough times. Together, we can weather any storm. Like all good stories that contain rain, this one ends in a rainbow.